Well, hello everyone. Hi guys. Yes, and welcome to Startup Day 2022, an event which we, choose to think about as a forum by community, about community, for community. And, 2021 was just so different, the pandemic, everything. I remember how we were, doing the event and the vaccination certificates, panicking if somebody will come to check and, what is going on. A lot of people watching online. And this time, believe it or not, we were sold out. And yesterday we were receiving a lot of calls if people could come. And so we were panicking so much about maybe choosing not the biggest venue possible, so we even sent an email, guys, if you don't like to mingle with people or rub the shoulders, then watch the stream. And maybe we scared a few of you away, so those who are watching online, if you feel like you would like to come, please come and join us. So a lot has happened during the year, and today we will touch upon that. A special hello to Dagnia here. Once upon a time, she was the person who actually kicked off this initiative, right? And I hope you are happy with how it is going at the moment. So yes, Dagnia Lejenia, please, a round of applause. It's right. And oh yes, that's me. I was about to dress the same way today. Maybe it's good I didn't. I would also like to thank the Riga Investment and Tourism Agency, which supported this event, and definitely it would not be possible without their helping hand. And also Build It Latvia Accelerator and Jeff pitched in, which we were really happy about. Also the team who has packed a program for us, and they did good. Today we will be cruising through a lot of content. Without too many toilet breaks or coffee breaks. Sorry, not sorry. Well, we have a lot of things to share with you. And yes, some house rules. Yes, let's try to respect the time. As I mentioned, the schedule is tough. And let's bring networking and chit-chat away from the stage. As you can see, there are just curtains, no walls. So whatever happens out there, we can hear here. And also, yes, make sure you have registered and got the wristband, because, after the tough day, to unwind and to get some drinks, you would need to show your wristband. And now I would actually like to share some slides with you. I did not know I will be handling the microphone with my hand and the clicker, so I forgot my third hand at home today. Yes, so a little check-in on where we are at the moment. I do hope you can see the slides. I'm not blocking, not maybe that big, but yeah, still not small. I will share some news with you. I will share some data, and I will offer you some thoughts. A little bit of philosophy in the morning with a coffee, why not? So, yes, great news, and Agnes touched upon that, but then when we were preparing for this event, I specifically asked her to leave this part to me, because, well, yes, just 2 days ago, a startup ecosystem development strategy was finalized for 2022-2025, and a memorandum was signed between the Ministry of Economics and other 8 organizations, and our association is one of them. So you might have heard that, once upon a time we started this working group and working together basically to understand who we are, what we are going to do with respect to the startup ecosystem development, how far we want to go. And it was a struggle, let me be honest about it, for all the parties to come on board and to agree on something. It's a process. And now we have finally finalized it. So I will just, share a little I will share. Yes, I will share a little snippet of how it looks like. And I would like to invite on stage to give a further comment on the importance of this initiative, Eva Siliņa, who is the advisor for the Minister of Economics on digitalization and innovation. So a warm welcome.
Thank you, Olga. It's my pleasure being here and seeing your community. I think choosing this path, being part of a startup, is one of the most challenging career paths a person can take, but also one of the most rewarding ones, right? Me coming from ministry, I see what's happened 2 days ago is kind of like a milestone for us and for our community as well. Because 3 years ago, there was another memorandum of understanding. What started this working group developing the strategy, and it's finalized now. It's all in paper and also available in webpage of Ministry of Economics, so you can find it or ask me or Olga for the link, so you can see what's in there. But we see this strategy and the memorandum both as living documents, because otherwise it's just weight of the paper, right? We have to fulfill our roles, do what needs to be done to really enlighten this ecosystem and help it as it is. So I think there's 3 parts. First, of course, helping the ecosystem to grow and flourish, and this is where the ball is in your court to comment on all those things, or either it's immigration rules, where you have to see or safety issues for the state and also our needs for the people, for the workforce in here. Then, of course, funding, investments, how you can get your investments you need, and at the moment we see there's really lack of those in Latvia. You need much more money. We need much more people in the ecosystem who could make much more new enterprises, new startups, and grow the ones we have. Because I think we should be much more ambition put in this system, and much more bigger part of our economy in Latvia should be contributed by startups. That is how we kind of ensure this knowledge economy, all those fancy words, but actually means like people living better. So I'm really happy for the dialogue, which has kind of started here. At the moment, we are equal partners, so you can see in Memorandum of Understanding. So I hope for a great communication. I hope for sharing, for lots of meetings, for discussions, heated or less heated. So in the end, we kind of fulfill our biggest goal. What's a bit challenging is this political cycle. It was actually mentioned by Agnes in the start of this event. Because yes, every 4 years, minister changes. And when I started working here, most often I get, oh, where you were years ago? Well, what you voted for 4 years ago, that's what you got at the moment, right? So make a deliberate, conscious decision on what you want, because it's extremely important. But for our part, we have put in this memorandum of understanding, we have put in a strategy, so whatever comes, we hope at least there is some basis for you to stand on and demand your rights and demand cooperation. And let's hope for a bigger, brighter future for startups. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Eva. And yeah, new election is coming, so what you vote is what you get for. I mean, couldn't agree more with that. So let's do what needs to be done, right? Pretty soon, less than a month. Right. So continuing, on the news, what I would like to also share with you is that, okay, this clicker is lower than I am. In 2022, we also saw the increase of the support for the startup ecosystem from Riga City Council and Riga Investment and Tourism Agency, or RITA, as we call it for short. In 21, the guys, entered into the ecosystem and provided some support and played around with some programs. They tested if it would be needed. It was very much appreciated, and so this year they came up with a bigger program, and so a few initiatives throughout this year and hopefully next as well will be supported financially and actually with inputs and strategically by these two municipal bodies, let's call them that, which is very much welcome by us. And then, since, I'm from the Latvian Startup Association, could not, of course, not share some updates from our side. So you could see already that in 2022, the association, we got a major facelift and upgrade. So we are quite a new team. By now we are 4 in the core and 5 in the board. So we did revise our membership packages to allow startups to get the most out of life, out of us, out of everything what Latvia offers. And at the moment we are 116, so pretty big community and growing. That's the historical number. Yes. And then, most importantly, what I would like to share with you is that, again, once upon a time, you might remember in 2021, we launched an MVP, as we call it, of a database of Latvian startups. Back then, 100 plus startups. So today, we reveal, first of all, the new look. And second of all, we added quite a few startups since then. And recently, I believe 150 were added. And so if you haven't yet heard about it or checked it, this is the place where you check the data on our startups, right? So it's on our website. And what changed for you of those who have used it before, what has changed since then is that yes, there are better filters, there are better search options, new data points. Also, mind that what you see on the database is not all we have. So we gather much more data. We are yet to figure what to do with the data. I mean, we are monitoring the trends, but there is some information we are not just going to release publicly. Let's see how it goes from there. And then a new feature, which I particularly love, is the pop-up window for each startup in the database. So you can hit the little plus and see quite extensive details about each startups, including, for instance, founders, individuals, so you can see who exactly is behind that. Enough maybe with the news. I just, wanted to highlight a few things. And now the data, which actually comes from the database I just mentioned. So a few, simple graphs to make sure our brain wakes up. It's still quite early morning, I know, especially in the startup world. So here we took 12 years and divided them into 4 periods, 3 years each, and we looked at how many startups were registered during those periods. And we can see that starting with the 2017, there was an increase in how many startups were being born, but then obviously starting with 2020, that growth maybe was not that obvious, right? So you see the last 2 columns are pretty equal. Well, blame it on pandemic, blame it on the war this year. Quite a lot of things have been happening, right? But my question looking at this was, do we have enough startups? Far from it. And unfortunately, at the moment, they're also not being born sufficiently fast enough, So yeah, that's the problem we face and we are challenged with. And then if we look at those startups in our database, and again, 340, right? We see that, and there is no big surprise, that roughly half are doing pure B2B, and about 14% are doing purely B2C, and then there is a large chunk of others, and others is B2G, B2B2C, and all other permutations and combinations you can possibly see. So I don't think there's a big surprise there. And then looking at what exactly our startups are working on. Software, hardware, again, no surprise, the 64% are doing software and 24 roughly hardware, and then those are 12% the brave ones who are doing both, right? And we all know how tough it is to do software plus hardware. And then looking at the turnover, this data is from 2021. So what we did is we took all those startups we have in the database and we put them into 5 ranges. Those who turn over less than 100K, then from 100K to 500K, and you see these intervals. And so again, no major surprise, 67% of those startups would turn over less than 100K per year. And then we see 21%, 100 to 500K. So what I'm trying to, drive here at is that, of course, the vast majority are still below the €500,000 per year in terms of turnover, which to me symbolizes that, or signifies, or sends signals that we are still quite early stage. So no big surprise there. If we then continue looking into this, financial results, another thing we look at is the payments to the state budget, and exactly same ranges again. And again, no big shocker, right? 85% are paying less than 100K thousand to the government, which is actually quite an artificially low number, because as we know, many enjoy the startup law support, which allows you not to pay the full amount of taxes, right? So that drives the number lower. And of course, we do have 1%, disappeared there from 500K to 1 million. But yes, we do have, a growing chunk of those who are faring pretty well, both in terms of turnover and the taxes. And then, again, these two indicators, because, oftentimes, especially from the government side, we hear these questions about what is the contribution to the economy. So then we, show these numbers. And for 2021, the turnover, the overall turnover for those 340 startups we have in the database was 149 million euro, and contribution to the state 39. Again, I'm very often asked if it's a lot or it's not that much. And then against all laws of statistics, I do what I look at the average temperature in the hospital, so to say. So I took the overall number and divided just by the number of startups. Wrong, very wrong. Don't do it again, or at home, or whatever you say, right? But it gives kind of an understanding of what is the scale kind of our compact industry, because we are a compact startup bubble, right? So in terms of that per startup number, you then see that on average, one startup turns over 400, almost 40,000 per year, and pays 115,000 euros per year to the state budget, which again, on average, is a pretty decent result, I would say. Right, investments, a snapshot. 2021, as you might know, was the excellent year. 247 million raised by our startups. This year is far from being that good. Nearly 50 million so far this year raised by our startups. Can blame it on pandemic, on the war. We might hear later in the panels a few reasons for that as well. And we also saw 3 exits this year, right? We will hear a story from one of them today on this stage, what it took and how the journey was. And then, just to wrap up my little speech here, and this is where I offer some thoughts to you is, reflecting on this year. We all do feel the consequences of war in Ukraine, and Agnes already mentioned that. So I will just emphasize that, yes, the association has been very active in this discussion about the immigration restrictions and everything. There are some signals that we might have been heard in terms of, what's happening in this agenda at the moment. So we might have some wins along the way. But then 2 more reflections from my side. I've been in the ecosystem for about 6 years now. And back then when I joined, we all, as an ecosystem, the government players, the non-government sector, we were all learning how to talk to each other, how to communicate, how to lead the dialogue. But I think we've been stuck in this talking a little bit too long. We got carried away, and I believe it's the real time that we start, walking the talk. So this conversion from talk to walk, it's urgent. It needs to happen now. And yes, we heard about the memorandum, which we did sign in the ecosystem. But I want to remind you that it's just the beginning. It's not the purpose. This memorandum is not the purpose by itself. I hope we all understand that. And, the last thing is those of you who have been to the Pirate Summit. I just came back a couple days ago, yesterday. Oh my God, I lost track of time, but that was the 10th anniversary of this event. So those of you who have been there would recognize this give, ask kind of mentality, which basically, urges the ecosystem, startup ecosystem, the people in it, to, before they ask, before they demand, before they request for something, to think if they have given enough. In many ways, right? I'm not speaking about just money, but attention, energy, care, time. I do feel like in the ecosystem, we have mastered the ask part. We have not necessarily mastered the giving part. So to conclude my speech with a little bit again, like philosophical vibe, I do invite you to be asking and keep asking yourself if you give enough before you ask. That's what I ask of you, right? I hope I've given you some insights to demand this ask. So yeah, with that, I will be wrapping up my part, and yeah, that was a thank you, which was delayed. So thank you for listening.